Hi, this is Mr. Lu. I'm talking to you all the way from the beautiful city of Paris. And today I want to talk a bit about Malaysia, JB versus Singapore. Recently, because of the bird talk, the the bird people talk, I've gained some popularity in Malaysia. Now I've got Malaysian news agency that actually publish the video and talk about this. Well, what's not so important is the content itself, but what's more important is I now have Malaysian who wrote to me, and one very interesting topic came out. Okay, so before I start, hit like and subscribe for more financial and economic news from me. And for those people who are making good money from the stock market right now, congratulations. The S&P 500 has right now broke through 4,300 points. And I think what we have lost in 3 months, we might get back in 3 weeks. For those who have missed it, we have fired a shot in a shot in the S&P 500 that I put up in Telegram, and people ask me why don't I put it on video, because that shot wasn't fired by me, fired by my son, who is managing my family funds. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the main topic itself. So I've been engaging with a few very interesting Malaysian fans, who of course are quite balanced. Something about Malaysian is that they are quite balanced when talking about the good and bad of their country. But one very interesting topic that came out was they say that, because a lot of Singaporeans say that, oh, JB is lousy because of two things, right? Mainly JB is lousy because of two things. Number one is the traffic jam. Okay, the traffic jam is horrendous. This one I think nobody will dispute. But the good thing is that the RTS is coming in 2026, and I hope that will alleviate the jam. And some people are talking about now possibly a renewal of interest between the two government to have the KL Singapore highway up. So let's wait and see, but that's not the main topic. The second thing is that a lot of people say that a lot of Singaporeans say that JB crime is terrible. There's so many crimes out there, people mugging, people being stabbed, people being robbed, people being pickpocketed and things like that. People lost a lot of money and people lose cars and things like that. I've got one Malaysian fan who wrote to me and say, Mr. Lu, do you know that the crime rate in Singapore is much higher than JB? I said, how can that be, man? We saw so many news. Well, he says this, right? He says that it's just different type of crime, right? In Malaysia, the criminals go for physical crime, right? They actually go and rob, they pickpocket whatsoever. But it ain't as much as Singapore, right? Singapore, the crime has gone more sophisticated, that's all. He says that, do you know that Singapore, the crime is now about scams, right? He says that, you look at all the news, right? It says this, that, sorry, I'm still nursing a cough. He says that Singapore topped the world in number of people being scammed, right? And even call names, right? Why is Singaporeans so gullible? Well, I thought that was quite interesting. Okay, I don't want to be defensive, so I listened more. He says that look at your first half. Look at the news report, right? So I went to look at our news report. Well, indeed, first half itself, we have lost $334 million. He says that there's no way, right? Not even close. How much of the theft and pickpocket and robbery has lost, right? Your Singaporeans have lost so much money, and you don't dare to call JB a dangerous place? You must be kidding. And you say you go and look at your number of scam cases versus our cases, right? So I said, okay, let's take a look. So I went to Google and found that in the first half of this year, in Singapore, there are 22,339 scams. About 22,000 scams, okay? That's a 64.5% increase, right? How can it be 22,000 people being scammed in Singapore? Wow, so that's quite serious, right? It's very, very serious. So I said, so I was thinking maybe Malaysia. Well, I don't know what's the number of Malaysian cases. Well, there are actually reports, right? There are 3,000 scams in JB so far. 3,000 scams recorded. Now, maybe not all are reported, maybe not all Singapore reported, but let's say the Malaysian cases, half of it is not reported, it's 6,000, right? So then I was thinking, maybe JB population very small compared to Singapore. I went to check as well. Well, the Johor population is 4 million. 4 million, not very far from Singapore. So I think that's right, that's right. There's some logic to it. So I thought, so maybe he says that if you take all the cases, scams and robbery or whatsoever, and see how that compares in JB versus Singapore, right? So I say, okay, crime rate encompasses all, right? But anyway, so I went to take a look at a report. I don't know which. This is somewhere, I think, the year 2020. There are 761 cases for the first half of the year. Okay, so assume that times 2 is 1,004, 1,005, round it up to 2,000. That's still a far cry from our 22,000 cases. So I think Singapore got to be fair. Okay, to be fair to the Johoreans. It's not that our case. It's not that Singapore is a safer place. It's just that Johor, those cases that comes out are very public. They seems bloody. They seems dangerous. But I think in the absolute number of cases, I don't think Singapore crime rate is any lesser than Johor. In fact, I think we are far ahead of them. And it's sad to hear that, right? Actually, Singapore has become a very unsafe place, especially on online space, right? So it's not true that Johor is a more dangerous place. Now, so he further stressed that the cases that that in Johor, most of robberies are, if you are related to gangs, known cases, businessmen, right? Black eat black, triads versus triads and things like that. The ordinary people don't face that serious a problem. There is, but it's not so serious. Murder cases, all these are generally involve, jealousy, man-woman kind of thing. In fact, some of the cases are committed by Singaporeans. But it's very interesting to see all these insights from a job. I try not to be defensive. I like to think that Singapore is a safe place. So, but it is true that if you look at overall crime rate, I don't think Singapore is any less than Johor. So before we start pointing fingers and telling people our neighbors had a very bad track record, I think we got to slap our own face first, right? So I think it's very interesting insight that's given. I thank the fellow Johorean that shared this with me. That's a very interesting insight. We got to be humble before we start pointing fingers and say that our neighbor has a bad environment. I think Singapore is not much better. It's just that the nature of the crime is different. Okay, so I think this is good food for thought. And with this, think about it, right? Okay, so with this, if you think, I'm sure this will invoke a lot of negative comments from Singaporeans trying to be defensive. Okay, let me hear your views on this YouTube video or on Telegram. Okay, with this, thank you. If you like this video, give a like and hit subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.